Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC on ESPN +4, Junior Dos Santos versus Derrick Lewis. We're going to talk about our best bet play that currently is for purchase on Wagertalk. Link down in the description. You click there, you will see the Wagertalk site. You will see my profile. You will see past plays and a write-up about myself as well. Go in there, check it out. The purchase is there. As well as we're going to talk about a free play. This is not the best card ever. I've already talked to many of you on Twitter. Follow me at Twitter, at Mr. UFC Vegas. And I've talked to you guys already, and a lot of you are already saying some of you want to take this card off. Some of you aren't sure if you really want to be betting it. You're not really sure where to go on some of these plays. So that's also why we are here to talk about it. Also, continue the conversation down below in the description. Always like hearing from everybody. Always like to continue the conversation after every video down below. Also, we have conversation during the event down in the comment section. So definitely get involved with the community if you have not yet done so. But like as I was saying, this is not the greatest card. There are some spots that I do believe there are some betting opportunities, some nice angles, but I'm definitely going to be sticking with what I normally do. And like I always say in my videos, out of my allotted amount of money per event, 75-80% goes my best bet play. The others go on, the other 25% or so goes on my free play, goes on some parlays, some value plays, trying to make sure that as long as I hit my best bet play, I am making money, which has definitely been happening. So here at this point, I really am looking at two plays here. My best bet play, that is already up. That's one that I feel good about, and as well as the free play that we're about to talk about. So my free play for UFC on ESPN +4, and I'm kind of sick of this plus thing at the end of the ESPN, but ESPN +4, Junior Dos Santos versus Derrick Lewis, the main event of the evening. Figure that this is a good one to talk about because I'm definitely hearing a lot of you guys talking about this one. This is definitely a fun one that should be two heavyweights going at it. You got a former champion, Junior Dos Santos, and you got Derrick Lewis, who had just come off a title opportunity against Daniel Cormier, which I was at that card at Madison Square Garden. So let's take a look at these two. The first thing you're going to look at here for Junior Dos Santos is Junior Dos Santos is 20-5. His current line on him is -196. And then you've got Derrick Lewis, who is 21-6. And he is +166. So first things first here with Junior Dos Santos. Now he has dominated the, or at least been at the elite level of the heavyweight division for more than a decade. You know, he's had some PED allegations as well, but he has definitely fought the murderer's row, the who's who of the heavyweight division over the last 10 years. I mean, it's arguably he has fought the best of the best, and some he's won, some he's lost. Obviously, he's only lost 5, but he has put on some great performances, had some big highlight reel knockouts. But I think his things have really changed for him because I think he's being a little bit smarter and more economical the way that he's been fighting. So you take a look at his last few fights. He came off a couple wins and losses back and forth, but then he went up against Stipe Miocic. And Miocic, I mean, at the time, he was, and still, he is arguably one of the best heavyweights of all time also, with the string of wins that Stipe has had. Some of the big knockouts that he's had, finishing world champions in the first round. So Stipe is definitely one of the best. Stipe went out there and, including Junior Dos Santos, knocked out Junior Dos Santos in the first round, defeating him there. So then that was when Dos Santos had some time off, came back after about a year or so layoff, and fought Ivanov, who was actually fighting on this card, fought Ivanov, and in that fight there was very much, I feel, of a fight where he was more just wanted to get back and acclimated. He kind of sat outside, picked apart Ivanov, was able to work his combinations, good cage movement in there, and I think a lot of the things for him was he wanted to get some time in the cage. And he didn't really look for the big knockout. I think he didn't really look for the, normally in situations where he throws that, which, I mean, he does throw it at just an extraordinary amount of power, but he throws that overhand right that he likes to just unleash And he didn't really do too much of that in this fight against Ivanov. I felt like he was more working the combination, staying outside. And that was something that I think he's going to really start to bring into even this fight with Derrick Lewis. And he went out there against Ivanov, beat him in an easy 5-round decision victory. And then he fought Tai Tuivasa. Now, Tai Tuivasa, up-and-comer, a guy that had been looking very good within the heavyweight division. And this is a fight that I actually was leaning towards Tai Tuivasa. I thought Tuivasa was going to be able to, push around a little bit Junior Dos Santos, because there are times that you do see Dos Santos when he's up against the cage. He does a kind of a weird run when he's kind of, shelled up or his back up against the cage. He does this kind of awkward run to look for more space because he wants to work that boxing. And in that fight there, the first round was kind of close, but he went out there in that second round, knocks out Tai Tuivasa. It was an impressive fight, a big shot from him. But I think the big thing with Junior Dos Santos coming into this fight, and the thing that he's really starting to do more, is that he's definitely letting the knockout come to him. I think when he was really out there and just mowing through people, I think that he really left himself exposed. And there's certain spots there where it ended up working the other way and he was getting knocked out. So I think that's something now, at this point of his career, he's got great skills. And there is no doubt about it that Junior Dos Santos has the best boxing in the heavyweight division. I mean, I don't think that there's really anybody else on the top of my head that really hits that elite level. At least he's the top 3, if that, maybe even the top 2 in the division right now. He's able to work those combinations, and I think the big part is going to be his patience. Now, again, like I was saying, a lot of times he goes out there and looks for it. I think in the spots like here, and in spots like against Derrick Lewis, he's going to be very patient. He's going to work the body. And that's something, again, that he likes to do now. He doesn't just sit outside and headhunt like Derrick Lewis does, but he likes to work, pepper him, beat him up a little bit, soften up the body, let his hands drop a little bit, worrying about, getting hit in the body, and expose his head for some headshots. So I think he's able to really do that very well and mix it up, where a lot of times I think in the past he was more looking for that big knockout. I think here he's being a little bit more smarter. So Junior Dos Santos, it's kind of the rundown for him there, and I think that what he has to do in this fight is complete outwork Derrick Lewis. Now you got Derrick Lewis on the other side, like I was saying, coming off a second round loss by rear naked choke against the current champion in Daniel Cormier. And that fight was pretty much a lopsided fight there, and it was a short notice fight. It was a fight that, didn't really seem that, should have really happened, because prior to that, about a month before, he had fought Alexander Volkov. Now, Volkov in that fight, I'm sure you all remember that fight. It was actually a very entertaining fight, but a very close fight. Heading into that third round against Volkov, it really looked as if Lewis was going to lose the fight. I mean, it was pretty much, as long as Volkov pretty much stayed away from Derrick Lewis, he was picking him apart. Lewis was looking very tired, and that's something, again, a big thing against him is his cardio. Now, he's been able to push through that cardio in different spots. There's definitely been spots, and this is one of them, that he was able to really continually, push through it, but just, it's the one bomb. That's what he's looking for, that one bomb to really push it, to really knock you down. And in this spot here, he was able to really push forward in that third round with seconds left, and Volkov, for God knows what reason, was actually looking at engaging and trading, and that's all that Derrick Lewis wants. He wants to stand and trade. He's got a chin. He doesn't have the cardio to chase you around, but if you want to stand in the middle of the octagon and you want to strike, that's exactly what Derrick Lewis wants to do. So in that fight there, he ended up knocking out Volkov very late in that third round, ends up getting the victory, which earned him the title shot. Now, that's something that, of course, was very, very questionable, because that card in Madison Square Garden did need a main event. There was all this, which, for me, going to it did not feel good, because they weren't sure who they were going to be putting there, and the card ended up kind of falling off, where the year before was UFC 217, which was a phenomenal card. It was one of the best cards, maybe in the history of the UFC, and going back to Madison Square Garden and seeing kind of the whole card kind of fall apart was a little tough to swallow there. But it was nice to see Derrick Lewis step up and take that fight. It was a one-sided win for Daniel Cormier, like we were saying. And then prior to that, he fought Francis Ngannou, which may be the worst, most boring fight in the history of the UFC, and definitely in the history of the heavyweight division. I mean, it was a snoozer of all snoozers in that fight. It was very, they just weren't, you had Ngannou coming off a loss, was very skeptical on striking, very suspect on, am I going to be taken down? He was very much in his head, and Derrick Lewis I don't even really know what he was doing, because he was coming off a victory. So he went out there, and I think he was scared of Ngannou's power, and they kind of just danced around the cage and really didn't do too much, and somehow out of that, because I think he maybe had landed a handful of more punches than Ngannou, that Derrick Lewis got the decision victory there. And then part of that was against Tabora, and Tabora, I think that was probably one of the better showings for Derrick Lewis, but, which Derrick Lewis ended up knocking him out in the third round. But the thing about Derrick Lewis and many of his victories, when you go back and you take a look at it, was that they were very close, very sloppy fights. And Derrick Lewis has that brawler mentality, which earns him a lot of fans. People like him. He's a funny guy. There's a lot of things that come out of his mouth that are pretty hilarious, especially after the fight. And he's got that fan attention, that fan appeal. And again, his fighting style brings in some fans. But when you take a look at to a betting perspective, you've got Junior Dos Santos, great cage movement, gonna move around the cage, and has a gas tank. I mean, I'm not saying that he is all world, but he has that gas tank where he can jab you, throw a straight, move around. Throw a hook, jab, move. And that's what he's going to do on repeat for 5 rounds in this fight. I don't really see this, unless Derrick Lewis is really going to be folding, I don't really see this fight, gonna get a finish. I mean, the only way that there's gonna be a finish, and I believe the only path to victory for Derrick Lewis is the knockout. Now, this isn't going to be a 5-round fight where Derrick Lewis picks him apart and gets a decision victory. So I like the fact that Dos Santos has multiple paths to victory. He can get the knockout, and he can also just work and drag Lewis into deep water. And that's going to be something, too, where 3rd, 4th, 5th round, can Derrick Lewis even withstand that kind of just overall exertion and energy over that long period of time, where all he's looking for is that big bomb. And then Junior Dos Santos also can win by decision. So if he drags him out late into this fight, I think that he gets the victory late. I think he can get a knockout at any point and a decision victory. So there's multiple ways here. I don't see this fight going to the ground. Nobody's looking to take this fight to the ground. But Derrick Lewis has to only land one big bomb to win this fight. There really is no other way. Of course, it's the heavyweight division. Anybody can land, and anybody can end anybody's night at any moment. But here, I think that Junior Dos Santos, the way that he's been fighting very smart. And again, this cage movement and the fact that he's not looking to go out there and get a big knockout. Plus, he does realize, of course, this is not everybody realizes that the only way that Derrick Lewis can win is a knockout. So he's going to play, and he's very good at being conservative, where he's able to throw a couple shots and back up, get himself out of any danger. Junior Santos is very, very good at that. So no decision opportunity for Derrick Lewis. There's just not much there. The one knockout punch, even at plus 166. I'm not a big fan of it. I can't knock anybody that is going for Lewis here, because they're saying, hey, all he needs to do is land 1 over 5 rounds, which is true. That is absolutely true. But I think Junior Dos Santos at this point, even with when Dos Santos is against the cage, and I told you kind of does that kind of awkward run away from the cage, Derrick Lewis isn't fast enough to even really, yes, he can push forward and get his back to the cage, but he's not really going to outrun or outmaneuver Junior Dos Santos around that cage. He's going to have to set back in the middle. Junior Santos is going to set back in the middle as well, and he's going to work his jab, work his snapping jab, work his hook, work his combinations to the body, and really, I think, just confuse Derrick Lewis over 5 rounds. I think this could go to a decision victory. I mean, decision victory was, I think, a plus 300 on a decision, this just going to a decision. And I think that's an opportunity for this to happen in this fight. But for me here, I do like the minus 196. I think that the price is right there. I think it actually should be further a little bit than what it is. I'm just thinking that Derrick Lewis just does not have the gas tank, the overall striking skill set to outmaneuver Junior Dos Santos. So as the free play, I am going Junior Dos Santos at minus 196. That will be the free play. And then the other one that I just wanted to talk about real quickly is because there's another one that a lot of people are talking about. And again, I am pretty much sticking to my best bet play as my 80% of my bankroll, and my free play being on Junior Dos Santos. But one that I may throw in a parlay because I think there's value in it is Beneil Dariush against Drew Dober. Now, Drew Dober is plus 170. He's 20-8. And then you've got Dariush is minus 200, and he's 15-4. Now, not to dive into this too much, I'm not going to, really dive into this one, but I wanted to touch on it, is the fact that I really like Drew Dober here. I think that there is an opportunity for him here. I know that he's been taken down in the past. I know that there's, that is the issue because that's the only way that Dariush can get this victory is to the ground. He's not going to outstrike Dober. I think Dober has got a nice skill set there. I think he's got decent striking. But over the last 6 fights, Dober is 5-1. He's looked good. He's has some knockout victories. He's actually got a few decision victories as well. But I think he's growing. I think that there's a lot of great things about him. And you look at Dariush, who's on the decline. He's 1-2-1 over his last 4. He's had 2 knockouts in that span, 2 knockout losses in that span. And he's shown that weak chin. He's shown the fact that if you can touch his chin, he goes down. Now, at minus 200, I think this one here should really be a minus 110, minus 110, minus 108, minus 115, somewhere in there. I think this is very much a pick'em. I like getting the plus odds of plus 170 on Dober. I think there's opportunity for him to outstrike, because I don't like at all Dariush's standing. I mean, he definitely, there's spots where he can look pretty good, but over 3 rounds, if Dober's able to really just fend off those takedowns, I think there's opportunity for him to go out there and get that victory. So I like, as my value play on this card, I do like Dober. I'm going to have him in some, a parlay. Nothing crazy. This is just a little bit of exposure on, but I do like the odds on Drew Dober. And again, for me, this is not the biggest card when it comes to betting opportunities or just excitement in general. We have so many cards coming up. There's one for the next, including this one, 4 straight weeks of events, and then there is April 13th is going to be UFC 236. The UFC 236 will be then, and that's a nice card. A lot of good betting opportunities there as well. I'm already taking a look at that already. So I always say, don't force bets. That's always going to be something that if you're not really feeling that good about it, and people are already saying right now when I talk to people on Twitter yesterday and today and the day before, and people are not really sure, if you're not feeling it, take the week off. There is no need. There are so many betting opportunities within the UFC that if this is all I bet, this is all I look at, there is no need to push something or the season ends. That's the one great thing about the UFC, that there is no off season, that when there is 2 weeks that there is no UFC, I talk to everybody in the community, everybody's like, they don't know what to do with themselves. So, and I feel the same way too. So, there's always going to be opportunities to look at the next card. For me here again, it's my best bet play that I do like a lot, and then my free play, and then I'm also going to, sprinkle in the Dober play as well. So there you have it. There is the prediction show. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do not forget to subscribe and like. I always appreciate everybody who does give this a thumbs up. It's definitely helping this channel grow. Check me out on Wagertalk, link down in the description. And I appreciate everybody watching. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show, and I'll see you in the next one.